Now, Sunday week marks 21 years since the September 11 terrorist attacks. One of the lesser-known stories from that devastating day, one that highlights our better angels, is the one told in the musical Come From Away. 38 commercial planes and 4 military aircraft were forced to land at Gander International Airport in a pretty remote and sparsely populated part of Canada after American airspace, of course, was shut down. Almost 7,000 people temporarily called the town home, almost double Gander's normal population. Here's a report from CBS at the time.
Just minutes after the terror attacks of September 11, 2001, hundreds of passenger jets racing towards the United States were ordered to land. In a matter of hours, the town of 9,000 had mobilized a volunteer army to assist the plane people, as they were now being called, bringing food, medicine, and clothing to makeshift shelters in local schools and Legion halls. Striking bus drivers returned to work to provide transportation, and the people of Gander opened their homes to thousands of strangers. In the years following their ordeal, the plane people have found ways to thank the people of Gander, setting up scholarships for local schools, and even arranging for a piece of the World Trade Center to be brought to Gander as part of the town's memorial.
Now, my next two guests were in Gander in 2001 and helped to inspire characters in the musical. Janice Goudie was a rookie reporter and Bonnie Harris was the manager of an animal shelter. They join me now from the Theatre Royal in Sydney. Great to talk to both of you, Janice and Bonnie. It's just such a fascinating story. I know it's come to life in the musical and that's why you're in Sydney at the moment. But take us back 21 years ago, Janice. Firstly, you're a young reporter. This all unfolds in your town at a time of enormous uncertainty. You must have been scared about what was happening to the world, yet suddenly you're dealing with a really unusual event in your hometown.
Well, Chris, if I wasn't such a rookie reporter, I probably would have realized the magnitude of what was happening at the time. But I had just moved to the community that weekend. I started work on Monday, and then 9/11, it happened on Tuesday.
Exactly. So suddenly, I suppose, apart from telling people in the town what was going on, you were telling the rest of the world.
In some ways, we were working at a local community newspaper, so we had the privilege of only being a weekly newspaper in some ways. So we were trying to figure out what was happening and getting ready for the next week to publish all the pictures and things that had happened. And, you know, ironically, when you think back 21 years ago, you don't think about the fact that there weren't cell phones or digital cameras at the time. And we were working in film. And I remember colored film was what we used that week because it was a pretty big event that was happening in town.
Yeah. Now, Bonnie, of course, we all know the horror of 9/11, but what I've always liked about this story and reading about it in the past and when I saw the musical is the fact that, you know, this was a really unusual situation and this meant there was all hands on deck and you had people having to look after strangers and you were involved in that. Tell us about how that all unfolded. And, of course, this wasn't short term. This ended up being quite extended for a lot of people.
Myself, I was more involved with the animals that were on the planes rather than the people. Where I work at an animal shelter, we had made a few phone calls. We're told there were no animals on board. Then I found out the following day that there was several planes with animals on board, so we had to make arrangements to pack up everything we could think of that we would need and get up there and get into the cargo holds to take the animals out and to change their bedding, feed them, give them water as best we could in a very, very tight quarters. So that went on all day. By the time we got to the last plane, we realized that we can't continue to do this. If these planes are staying here for 4 or 5 days or however long they were going to be there, we needed to get them off the planes. And luckily, one of our local veterinarian, Dr. Doug Goudie, had connections with Canadian Agri-Foods, and they were given permission to take the animals off the planes. So up until that point, I didn't realize that there was any other animals rather than dogs and cats. Found out later, once the animals were taken off, there were a couple of bonobo apes in the same holding bay as the dogs and cats.
Why not? You'd always have some apes in the cargo hold of a plane. Now, Janice, tell us about what's unfolded since then. Obviously, people were stuck in the town for a while. People open up their homes, or they were staying in school gyms and the like. How long did all this go on for, and what are the repercussions now for the town? Haven't there been relationships that are still ongoing?
Oh, absolutely. So everyone was in town for, well, from Tuesday to Friday and some even on Saturday. So 4 or 5 days, as you can imagine. First, when they landed, we thought maybe a couple hours, you know. We'll help them out the best we can, and little did everyone know that they would be inviting them into their homes, giving them the keys to their cars, and just trying to make everyone as comfortable as possible. But it has returned twofold. People have created scholarships. There's been long-lasting friendships that have been made. It's just been an unreal situation that could have turned out, well, did turn out for many people to be more tragic, but hopefully we helped a lot of those people overcome one of the most terrifying times of their life.
I think that's one of the points here, Bonnie, just to finish on that. I've seen people being critical of this musical because it's such a happy occasion, but the point here is that it doesn't diminish the tragedy that was unfolding in the United States. It was really showing how people were good to each other in dealing with the consequences of that.
Absolutely. You know, I know people personally who were at the Twin Towers who, it was a couple years before they would even think of going to the show, and I've spoken to them since, and the show has been very therapeutic for them to help them to get over you know, what they went through, and just seeing that there's, you know, everything in the world is not evil. There are people who will try to help you in any way they can.
Indeed, and Bonnie Harris and Janice Goudie gets you out here to Australia to talk about it, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay, and thanks for joining us. Yeah, Janice Goudie and Bonnie Harris. If you see the show, they've essentially been played characters have inspired that they've inspired have turned up in the musical. It is a ripping show. Come From Away. It's at the Theatre Royal in November in Sydney, and the tickets available now via Come From Away. I saw it the last time it was in here in Sydney, and it was fantastic. As I say, just shows you that there is the better angels of humankind that come through in these times of tragedy as well.